303 gold bars, each one weighing 1 kilogram, each one worth approximately $130,000. All of them found inside the Virginia home of a senior officer at the Central Intelligence Agency, the same agency that tracks weapons programs in North Korea, the same agency that monitors nuclear sites in Iran, the same agency that runs the most sophisticated surveillance network in human history, could not keep track of its own gold. This is the story of David J. Rush. And this is the story behind the story. On the morning of May 19, 2026, FBI agents arrested a man named David J. Rush at his home in Ashburn, Virginia. On paper, Rush was exactly the kind of person the United States government trusted most. He held a senior executive service rank, the highest tier of the Federal Civil Service, reserved for the most senior managers across the entire U.S. government. He held a top-secret clearance with access to sensitive compartmented information. SCI clearance. That is not a standard clearance. That is the clearance you need to see the most protected intelligence on the planet. He had spent years inside the CIA. And according to court documents, he had used every year of that access to build one of the most audacious long-term frauds in the history of American intelligence. Here is where the story gets extraordinary. David Rush did not just steal gold. He stole an identity, his own. He built a fictional version of himself and fed it to the most powerful institutions in America for nearly 2 decades. It started in 1997, when Rush enlisted in the United States Navy. To get commissioned as an officer in the Navy Reserves, he needed a college degree. He did not have one, so he manufactured one. He submitted a fake transcript from Clemson University in South Carolina. On the strength of that forged document, he was commissioned as an ensign in the U.S. Navy Reserves in 2004. He was not a pilot. He was not a test pilot. He was an information systems technician. But that did not stop him from claiming to be one. He applied to work at the CIA 3 times. His first application was rejected. His second application was rejected. On his 3rd attempt, in 2009, he succeeded. In that application, he listed a bachelor's degree from Clemson University, a master's degree from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York, credentials from the United States Naval Test Pilot School, and he described himself as the director of testing for a 145-person, 18-aircraft Joint Army and Navy weapons test organization. None of it was real. The FBI contacted registrar offices at Clemson and at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute this spring. Both confirmed the same thing to federal investigators. They have no record of David Rush ever attending their schools. Not a single class, not a single semester, not a single credit. The Federal Aviation Administration has no pilot certificate or license registered to Rush. He was never a pilot, but the CIA hired him anyway. Why? Because the CIA assumed someone had already verified his credentials. The Navy assumed the CIA had checked. The CIA assumed the Navy had checked. And in the space between those 2 assumptions, David Rush built a career. For years, Rush rose through the ranks. His fake credentials earned him a salary inflated beyond what he would have qualified for without them. And then, beginning in November of 2025, he did something so brazen it is almost difficult to believe. He started asking his CIA supervisors for gold. Not metaphorically, actual gold bars. Between November 2025 and March 2026, Rush submitted multiple requests to the CIA for a significant quantity of foreign currency and tens of millions of dollars in gold bars. His stated reason? work-related expenses. And here is the part that should make every taxpayer stop and read that sentence again. The CIA gave it to him because in certain covert operations, gold and foreign currency are legitimate operational tools. They exist off electronic ledgers. They move without a digital trail. They are untraceable by design. David Rush knew this. He used the logic of covert finance to walk out the door with $40 million in gold. When CIA investigators later went to check the storage space where the gold was supposed to be held, they could not find it. They could not find the gold. They could not find the foreign currency. A CIA internal investigation identified what it described as potential violations of law. CIA Director John Ratcliffe personally referred the case to the FBI. On May 18, 2026, FBI agents executed a search warrant on Rush's home in Ashburn, Virginia. What they found inside defies easy description. 303 1-kilogram gold bars, estimated value more than $40 million. $2 million in United States currency. Approximately 35 luxury watches, many of them Rolex. The gold from the CIA storage space had not gone far. It had gone home. Rush was arrested the following morning, May 19. He was charged with one felony count of theft of public money. A federal judge denied his initial request for release on bail. He is currently in federal custody of the United States Marshal Service. His detention hearing has been scheduled for June 5th. He has not entered a plea. And there is one more layer to this story. Rush had been honorably discharged from the U.S. Navy Reserves in February of 2015, as a lieutenant, not the captain he claimed to be. But he kept telling his CIA employer that he was actively serving as a Navy Reserve captain through September of 2025. For years after his discharge, he claimed military leave. The FBI says he claimed 744 hours of paid military leave, hours during which he was not actually serving anywhere. That fraudulent leave cost taxpayers $77,000. A separate crime, buried inside a much larger one. Now we need to ask the question that the court filings do not answer. How? How does one man feed fake credentials into the United States intelligence system in 1997 and not get caught until 2026? That is 29 years. How does a fabricated Clemson transcript survive a Navy Reserves background check? How does it survive a CIA employment background investigation? How does it survive not one, not two, but 3 separate CIA job applications? How does it survive periodic top-secret reinvestigations that are mandatory for SCI-level clearances? The answer, according to security analysts, is institutional assumption transfer. Each institution assumed someone upstream had already verified the credential. The Navy assumed someone checked. The CIA assumed the Navy had checked. And the periodic reinvestigation process re-verified the same fabricated baseline rather than going back to the original source. It is a gap in the system that an intelligent, patient and methodical person could exploit. And David Rush exploited it for nearly 3 decades. One analysis put it plainly. For Rush's fabrications to survive 17 years of periodic reinvestigation means that at some point in the verification chain, the checks either were not performed properly or the fabricated documentation was good enough to pass inspection. We want to say one more thing before we close. The United States government has spent decades telling the world that it operates by a different standard, that its agencies are accountable, that its institutions are rigorous, that its intelligence apparatus is the gold standard of competence. But here is what the David Rush case tells the world. A man with no college degree became a senior official at the world's most powerful spy agency. A man who never flew a plane claimed to be a Navy pilot and an Air Force test pilot, and the CIA cleared him. A man who walked out of an intelligence facility with $40 million in gold bars did so slowly, over months, under the cover of a routine expense request. And no one noticed until the amounts became so large they triggered a red flag. The same agency that toppled governments, that surveilled world leaders, that ran operations in dozens of countries simultaneously, could not secure its own vault. That is not an attack on every person who works at the CIA. Most of them are professionals doing difficult work under extraordinary pressure. But it is a statement about systems, about the gap between the image a government projects outward and the reality it manages inward, about who bears the cost when institutions fail. The $40 million in gold was taxpayer money. Ordinary Americans paid for it. David Rush has not entered a plea. He has not been convicted. The case is ongoing, but the facts on record, verified by court documents, by university registrars, by military records, and by the Federal Aviation Administration, paint a picture that requires no embellishment. 303 gold bars, $2 million in cash, 35 luxury watches, 17 years of undetected lies, 1 top-secret clearance, 1 CIA storage room, 1 Virginia home. Connect the dots. Because that is what we do here. We do not just report the headline, we go behind it, we find the system, we find the failure, we find the story that powerful institutions do not want you to see. This is the story behind the story. Like and share this. Don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comment sections.